It was nearly midnight when the bus left the last stop on Route 47, a lonely stretch of road that cut through the misty outskirts of town. The driver, a middle-aged man named Leonard, yawned as he adjusted the rearview mirror. The city lights had faded behind him, swallowed by a blanket of fog that made the road ahead look like a tunnel into another world. He had driven this route for years, but tonight, something about the silence felt wrong. Usually, there were a few passengers heading home from the late shift or college students dozing off in the back seats, but tonight, the bus was empty, completely empty. Leonard rubbed his tired eyes and muttered to himself, "One more round, and I'm done." The radio crackled faintly with static. He reached to switch it off, but then a voice broke through. It wasn't a broadcast, not exactly. It sounded like someone whispering, their tone sharp, hurried, as if trying to warn him. He froze, hand hovering over the dial. The words were unclear, muffled by the static, but he thought he heard, "Don't stop a broken bar, keep driving a broken bar." Then the voice cut out. A shiver ran down Leonard's spine. He laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. Probably just interference, he told himself, but as the bus rolled deeper into the fog, he couldn't shake the feeling that some eerie or something was watching him. About 5 miles ahead, he saw a faint silhouette by the roadside, a figure, a woman, wearing a long white coat that glowed faintly under the headlights. She was standing perfectly still, facing away from the road. Leonard instinctively slowed the bus. "Lady, what are you doing out here at this hour?" he muttered, pulling over. He opened the doors, the pneumatic hiss echoing through the night. "Need a lift?" The woman turned slowly. Her face was paled, almost translucent in the fog. Her eyes, dark and wide, seemed to glimmer faintly as if reflecting light that wasn't there. "I need to go home," she said softly, her voice distant but oddly melodic. "Please." Leonard nodded quickly. "Sure, hop on." She climbed aboard, moving with an eerie grace. Leonard tried to ask her where she lived, but she only said, "You'll know when we're there." He didn't like that answer, but he'd been driving this route long enough to know better than to argue with strange passengers. As the bus pulled away, he glanced in the mirror. The woman had sat in the very last row, her face turned toward the window. The road wound through dense fog. Leonard felt the temperature drop inside the bus, so cold he could see his breath. He turned up the heat, but it didn't seem to help. The silence pressed on his ears until it was unbearable. He reached for the radio again. That's when he heard Dita faintly, at first a child's laugh, then another, then whispers, hundreds of them, all murmuring at once. He slammed on the brakes. The bus screeched to a halt, the fog swallowing the sound. He turned around. The woman was gone. The bus was empty again. Leonard's heart pounded as he scrambled out of his seat and walked toward the back. The seats were empty, every one of them. But then he saw a small, wet footprint on the aisle floor, barefoot, leading toward the rear door. "Hello?" he called out. His voice trembled. "Miss, you okay?" No answer, just the hiss of the bus's cooling engine and the whispering wind outside. He pushed open the back door and stepped out. The fog was thicker now, swirling like living smoke. He could barely see a few feet ahead. Then he saw movement, a shadow gliding across the road, vanishing behind the trees. He should have driven off. Every instinct screamed at him to get back in the bus. But curious yet dangerous, fatal curious yet made him follow. He took a flashlight from his seat and stepped into the mist. "Miss?" he called again. "Where'd you go?" He heard faint sobbing. It came from beyond the ditch, near the old bridge that crossed the creek. He approached cautiously. The woman was standing on the bridge, her back to him. The hem of her coat fluttered in the cold breeze. "Miss, are you hurt?" he asked. She turned slowly again, and Leonard gasped. Her face was different now, distorted, hollow-eyed. The flesh around her mouth cracked like shattered porcelain. Her voice echoed unnaturally, layered, as if several people were speaking through her. "Why did you leave us?" Leonard stumbled back, dropping the flashlight. "What are you talking about?" her head tilted slightly. "You left us here." Route 47, the bus, the river. The words struck like a hammer. Memories he'd buried deep surged up violently. A cold sweat drenched him. It was 15 years ago. He'd been a new driver back then, working overtime to support his family. That night, heavy rain had battered the road. The bus was full of workers, mothers, children. The brakes had failed on that same bridge. The bus had swerved, crashed through the barrier, and plunged into the river below. Leonard had survived, barely. The rest of broken bar hadn't. He told himself for years it wasn't his fault, that the brakes had malfunctioned, that he couldn't have done anything. But deep down, he'd known. He'd ignored the maintenance warning that morning. He'd been too tired to care. He fell to his knees. "Oh God," he whispered. "No, a broken bar. I didn't mean to. A broken bar." The woman's eyes glowed faintly, like cold fire. Behind her, figures began to appear, men, women, children, all pale and dripping, their eyes reflecting the bus's distant headlights. "You promised us a safe road home," she said, stepping closer. "But we never arrived." Leonard stumbled back, heart hammering. I tried to save you." Her voice softened. "Then drive us now." Before he could move, the world around him shifted. The fog brightened, glowing with a strange silvery hue. He found himself back in the driver's seat. The bus was full again of passengers seated quietly, their faces dimly lit by the flickering overhead lights. But they weren't alive. Their skin was gray, their eyes hollow, yet all of them stared at him with a calm, expectant expression. Leonard's trembling hands gripped the wheel. "What do you want from me?" he whispered. The woman sitting in the front row now spoke softly. "Finish the route." He turned the key, though he didn't remember putting it in. The bus engine rumbled to life. The fog outside parted as if guiding them forward. He began to drive. Every turn of the wheels felt heavy, unreal. The landscape outside flickered between the present and the past, the cracked bridge replaced by a smooth one, the road once again lined with trees long gone. Leonard felt time itself twist as the bus retraced the final path of that doomed night. Then, up ahead, he saw the bridge, the one from the accident. It looked new again, as it had all those years ago. The woman stood beside him, whispering, "Don't stop this time." He pressed the pedal. The bus rolled onto the bridge. Rain began to fall, just like before. The ghosts behind him murmured softly, their voices blending into a haunting lullaby. Suddenly, the road began to crumble beneath the tires. The bridge shook violently. Leonard screamed, slamming the brakes, but they failed to adjust like that night. The bus careened forward. For a moment, everything slowed. The woman's face turned toward him, calm and sorrowful. "Now we can rest." The bus plunged into the river. Leonard gasped as icy water filled his lungs. But this time, he didn't fight it. He closed his eyes, letting the current pull him under. When morning came, Route 47 was silent again. The fog had lifted, revealing an old, rusted bus half buried in reeds by the riverbank, a wreck that had been there for years. But witnesses claimed that sometimes, on foggy nights, they still saw a city bus driving that route, headlights glowing through the mist. Sometimes, it stopped to pick up a lone traveler, and those who boarded it were never seen again. Years later, a young driver named Tom was assigned to the night shift on Route 47. When he asked the depot supervisor about the stories, the old man just shook his head. "Ghost tales," he said gruffly. "Ignore them. The route's fine." Tom laughed it off, but that night, as he drove through the fog, he couldn't help glancing at the back seats now and then. Just after midnight, his radio crackled faintly. Through the static came a whisper, "Don't stop a broken bar, keep driving a broken bar." He froze. Then, through the haze, he saw a woman standing by the roadside, wearing a long white coat. "Need a lift?" he called out, opening the door. She smiled faintly. "Please, I need to go home." The bus rolled on into the mist, its headlights swallowed by fog, and the road behind it disappeared like it had never been there at all. No one ever found the bus the next morning, only the distant echo of wheels turning on an empty road. And so, Route 47 remained cursed a highway between the living and the dead, where the ghost of the route still roamed, forever driving toward a home that no longer existed.